All right, what's going on, guys? Another video that's a little long overdue. Many of you guys have been asking me questions for some time since I've been reviewing various different types of equipment, some of which is a little unorthodox in the home gym community, or maybe not so. I just combine different things: bands, electronic devices, traditional free weights, machines. A lot of you guys ask me questions such as, what is better, this machine, or weights versus bands, or what is your favorite machine for a given exercise? And so that latter question I thought would be the best way to kind of tackle a lot of these things in somewhat of an update of sorts. I'm always kind of holding off on making this video because I always have something else that's coming in that might push another machine out. And that is because whenever I do get something in here, I don't just want to just do a review and then get rid of it. I tend to always want to test it out and see if it kind of makes the cut, so to speak, on things that I kind of like to use. Again, this is my personal preference, but I'm just sharing with you guys honestly my own little journey, being fortunate enough to review, take things in. It's about 50-50 on some things I get for free for review and some of the things I actually dish out my own money. But regardless, whatever I'm taking in, it has to be something I have a genuine interest in, or I think some of you guys might find particular interest in as well. So with all that being said, what I'm gonna do is give you guys what I think are some of my favorite pieces that I tend to gravitate towards, that I've been kind of sticking with various exercises and or body parts. But definitely share your comments, questions down below in the description box, any recommendations of stuff you guys want to see for me to check out in the future. I was almost even holding out on this video because I got some stuff coming up on the horizon that might be pushing out some of these things in their various categories. So I'll just leave it there, let you guys kind of wait for that. But hopefully that's the goal, is always trying to find something that kind of one-ups something else. Another comment I have to stress, because I get this every so often. I actually got this yesterday or the day before on another video, where people will point out, they'll see all this stuff and they'll say, you don't need all this stuff, just keep it simple, just use a rack and some dumbbells. And I agree, you guys do not need a lot of equipment. That should kind of go without saying. However, this is a hobby for most people, and just like people that get passionate in various things, various exercises, various machines might suit certain people more or less based on personal preferences and or abilities. And on that similar note, if you're thinking it's just purely barbells and a squat rack, I made a whole video talking about how I think most people really do not need a squat rack based on their specific goals. That's also kind of a one-dimensional approach. I'm just trying to instill in you guys not to think dogmatic, think a little bit outside the box, search for things and tools and devices that, one, you're most likely gonna use, you're gonna stick to, and definitely fit your individual needs and goals. And many of you guys know this, but a theme I've stressed throughout many years on this channel is that you do not need a lot of equipment to get great results. You can get by with simply a pair of resistance bands, one set of dumbbells, a sliding bench trainer, whatever it is that suits your fancy and also your budget and space constraints can work. Just depends if you're gonna stick to it. We'll start off with chest exercises. Specifically, we'll talk about just some basic horizontal pressing, and I can make a whole separate video about this, but really all these different movement patterns are really all you guys need to kind of get results. Just find the tool and mode that suits you, like I keep saying. But my go-tos are generally gonna be the Lever Gym PowerTech. I have my previous Lever Gym, the Quantum Trainer for just basic presses. I love the way these feel as a machine. Certainly free weights. I actually love adjustable dumbbells for chest presses. I probably like that more so than a barbell. That's just my personal preference and the freedom of movement and how it feels. I'll probably touch on the Snodes many times, but I'll say this also multiple times. There is something to be said about a good quality adjustable dumbbell, and really anything that you have to more likely use it. So I do love my Snode adjustable dumbbells because of how they feel. Could be the knurling, could be just the dispersion of the weights, but the Snode dumbbells just feel great. Specifically just talking about chest pressing, but I do love those. Otherwise, I've been using a lot of the machine-based presses for a lot of my chest exercises because of the fact that I can load a lot of heavy weight in there, I can control it with safety, and I just like the overall stimulus that it gives. And if you are wondering in this video why you don't see the Quantum Trainer, which I reviewed many times, it's not that I don't like it, because it is so easy to break down. I even said this to the owner, Glenn, I likely did break it down because I'm gonna make room for some other stuff. Going to be setting it up in the near future, but I had to make room for some things that you're going to be seeing on future videos. When it comes to chest flies, I'll even loop in kind of rear delt flies with this as well. It's either again going to go back to my Snode adjustable dumbbells, again, love how those feel, or my Speedients. My Speedients I use for a few key exercises, and there's some things I do not use. Actually going back to chest presses, and that's not that the Speedients feels bad with chest presses, but I've said this in a few videos regarding the Gym Monster specifically, that with the ring on-off feature going to failure, or getting close to it, or just working pretty hard, I just don't like the uneasiness of relying on that ring. I kind of like that backup safety measure, especially the bar it's going over your face with resistance that can snap down on you. So that's why I tend to just not use the Speedience for things specifically like a barbell press. Of course, you could use handle presses and that works out good. But chest flies, I actually really like this. A lot of single joint stuff with the upper body I actually really like with the Speedience. And they actually made this new little attachment, which I never covered specifically, but they sent this along, and this actually makes it a lot more easier to kind of use because it also extends the length of the machine of the strap. So now I don't even use the ring to actually turn it on and off. I'll actually turn it on the machine and just grab the handles like this with enough resistance and do chest flies with this. Kind of almost imagine kind of like a bear hugging motion, even though the weight is closer together. Some people have a whole thing with like how long the weight should be with chest flies. I heard the argument forever, but even when I was going to the gym, I never liked a long cable crossover or dual crossover machine for chest flies. Always like that tight spacing, even from something like a free motion functional trainer arm. So just really like the Speedience just in general about standing chest flies. Now getting into the back department, when you're talking about any kind of horizontal or just neutral row, of all the things I have, I probably still gravitate towards the Snow dumbbells, and I'll again highlight them here. Something about just the way these things feel. When I had my power blocks, and I've even used things like other adjustable dumbbells like the Bowflex, I've seen those before. Those are just not as inviting and basically just do not feel as good. I keep stressing that and I'll stop saying it here. Find yourself a good pair of adjustable dumbbells or whatever it is. Could be a barbell or any apparatus. Get a chance to play around with it if you can. Watch enough videos to see if it's really gonna be something that you're gonna most likely use. And for dumbbell rows, love the way the Snow dumbbells do feel. And just to say this too, guys, before I get accused of it, I'm pushing these so much. I think I do have an affiliate link, but I honestly don't know if it even works, to be honest with you. And I did pay money for these. These were not sent to me for free and not a giant promotional plug. I just really do love my Snow dumbbells. And then other kind of horizontal or maybe like high to low type rows, I will go to the Speedience. I like the standing single arm row. Feels super smooth, and I'll talk more about that when I get to triceps on the Speedience. Quantum Trainer is a close second in my favorite bent over row or like horizontal row based exercise. You can't do a seated row on that machine, but bent over rows do feel really good with that lever arm. And I would say more so compared to the PowerTech Lever Gym and just how flexible in the lateral movement of the Quantum Trainer. And then going on to any kind of vertical pull down motion, I'm pretty much doing the standard stuff, but using a Lever Gym, either the PowerTech or my old GMWD. Just positioning the bench and doing a reverse grip or standard lat pull down is pretty much what I've been using for those. That is one of the weak points on the Speedience Gym Monster. It does a lot of great things. It's got the tower, but there is no central vertical pull. You can certainly definitely still work your lats at an angle based on the position you're sitting in, but you can't get that nice vertical pull. For shoulder presses, I kind of hit the delts through doing a variety of chest press incline angles that I tend to intermix with the flat bench, but definitely from time to time I will do things like a Viking press on the Lever Gym or using my adjustable dumbbells for those basic presses. But I would be amiss if I didn't mention the resistance bands for those isolated shoulder exercises and some overhead presses with a barbell and say a foot plate. And then with abdominals, I'll be pretty brief. I just do a vertical crunch of some sort, and because the Speedience is so easy, if you have a functional trainer, kind of same kind of deal, I tend to gravitate towards my Speedience just for doing abdominal rope crunches. And then getting into the arm department, specifically we'll talk about biceps. I think a lot of you guys know this from watching the channel. What really rekindled my interest back into resistance bands specifically was that X3 bar, but I would say more specifically, it was using resistance bands for biceps. I think hands down, that is my favorite bicep exercise of all time, is grabbing a loop band. Sometimes I will just grab it by the band like this, but preferably using some sort of resistance band, barbell, covered a lot in this channel. You guys can check that from Harambe, X3, the F2 bar, I use that a lot. Of course, I've also been using the collar hooks, working out really nicely. You can turn any barbell into a resistance band bar, but definitely some sort of resistance band curl has pretty much been my bicep curl of choice through since I want to say around April 2023 to kind of timestamp that, because that's when I first kind of reviewed and checked out the X3 type thing. But of course, I will grab an adjustable dumbbell and do some straight standard bicep curls. Always just love those as well. Then moving into triceps, 9 times out of 10, I am just turning on the Speedience and using that for tricep press downs. Here, I'll make a special little caveat and shout out to the Gym Monster because I do like the tension it gives off. Of course, if you have a functional trainer, and if you're like me, you've been to various gyms, You know that various pulley machines and functional trainers have a kind of slightly different feel to them. So it's kind of personal preference. You know, some feel, you know, super loose, kind of really easy to kind of press down, some a little more aggressive, some too aggressive. The Speediance has this certain tension where it almost feels like a human resistance. Like as you're kind of pulling it, there's like a fighting kind of resisted force that's also guiding and pulling you back as you let up. Kind of hard to explain, but it has this kind of direct tension and stress that I like. That's kind of a nice little midpoint. It's not too smooth and not too aggressive. So I actually really do like that tricep press down. Not to mention you can increase or decrease the increments by little pounds, and it is so easy just obviously turn the dial and adjust that. So Speediance is definitely kind of my go-to for tricep press downs, or from time to time if it's set up, I will just use the Lever Gym top pulley for tricep press downs. Then moving into legs, again with that caveat, I do not have a squat rack at this point in time. I do love me some front squats, back squats, low bar back squats. So I love squatting in general. Otherwise, this thing's sitting right here. I mentioned this before. I do love the Force USA leg press. In some recent months, this hasn't been used as much because I've been getting some reviews in. This is kind of taking up space. It's got its nice little dedicated corner, at least for the time being. Of all the different functions that it does, that said it really does 4 exercises pretty well. I pretty much stick to the standard leg press. I find that works really well for me. I love the stimulus it gives off, specifically in the hamstring glute area in that deep kind of low position as you kind of press off. Of course, you can kind of dial in your quadriceps a little bit by various angles in certain rep ranges to kind of finish off on there. But that would be probably my favorite, I'd just say basic multi-joint exercise with what I got right now. And then since I'm talking about it, I think this is probably my favorite calf raise exercise. Just takes a little bit of time to kind of set up. Would be doing calf raises also on this Force USA squat rack. Did a whole separate review for this. I will also link down below. Shameless plug, promo codes for the Force USA products. Also drop that. Now sitting behind me was one of the first kind of dedicated big pieces I picked up outside of my sliding bench trainers that necessities. I wanted some sort of leg specific machine that was space saving in the vertical leg press. Tried and true, worked out pretty good, but just really not using it too much. This, for the sake of space, you know, even though I don't necessarily, I like it, it's just I don't have room for it. Might be going in the near future to make room for some other stuff. So stay tuned for that. It's definitely not bad. It's just for what it does and the other stuff that I have, it just might be getting pushed out. But I might keep it because it is, you know, so tight and space saving, and I do kind of still like it. What I do still gravitate a lot towards though, and this is in recent months, has been the Lever Gym for their squat. I just like the way it feels. It takes a lot of tension and stress off your knees. It definitely isn't like a pendulum squat, but it has this slight arc to it that I feel just is very forgiving to specifically your joints, but still feels good with your where it needs to be, quads, glutes, hamstrings. But there's still gonna be a little bit of compressive force and some strain in your back if that's an issue to you. I've used things like belt squats. Not a huge fan of them. I do definitely use, this is a soft shout out to my friend Jason who makes the squat harness. He made a brand new one. I've used this many times. I haven't used this one, but I'll use the old one. So I'm gonna break this out sometime soon and use this. Just didn't get a chance of using the old one. But he's got a squat harness. I'll use that for a variety of squatting patterns. It's nice to kind of mix it up, and I like the way the stress is kind of deviated onto the back, not so much onto the lower extremity. Love resistance bands for of course for legs, for squats and split squats. But if I'm honest with you guys, I pretty much have been using these machines. Also the Quantum Trainer when I was using that for squats. I just kind of prefer that feel, at least personally at this point in time. That's what I've been using more or less. And then when I do get my squat rack back, I probably will be getting back into doing some barbell squatting. And then wrapping up the leg department, I'm really loving the basic leg extension, leg curls. It's an exercise I haven't been done for many years, being in the home gym, not going to a commercial gym. I did a review on the Buzzsaw by Bells of Steel. Great solid bench. Honestly though, for my uses, it was just too big, too bulky. I wasn't really taking advantage of the beefiness and sturdiness of the bench. And I really bought that thing or wanted that thing. I think that one was actually sent to me for free. That was one of the few products that was. So shout out to Bells of Steel. I actually did give that away to a neighbor. I found that it was just too big for my own needs for the confines of this gym, moving stuff around. It was just taking up way too much space. The leg extension, leg curl felt good in that, but believe it or not, this cheaper one, which I think it is cheaper, I do prefer using the leg extension, leg curl on the PowerTech multi-bench. Just feels a little bit better, especially even the leg curls. Just something about it feels a little bit smoother. And even the QT trainer, it's just not released yet. They have an add-on additional bench, leg curl, leg extension machine that I think they're gonna sell in the near future that can essentially go onto any bench. I don't know if they're still gonna put that out or not, but that was actually a really cool thing too. All those machines I really love, so I don't think you can really go wrong with anything like that if you've got a solid bench or attachment. But that's, I think, one of the benefits of the PowerTech multi-bench is all its attachments. And I'll say that its leg curl, leg extension machine works out really good. Now those are just kind of the biggest stuff that I've been using in recent months, but of course there are loose end little things. What's coming to my brain most recently is this Armored Assassin, figured it was, from Home Gym Con. Picked this thing up. I've actually been using it a lot since I got it. Just a great gripper. I can feel myself progressively getting stronger in the repetitions I'm doing with this bad boy. You'll have to ask me down below in the description box what this is and I'll point you to what this was. I forget the exact name on this. Of course, I do use my resistance bands and a foot plate for various exercises, but those are kind of intermingled between various sets. Other than the bicep curls, those are always pretty much a staple. Things like the flywheel, like the Handy Gym, I will use that from time to time. Other tube-based bands, a variety of other little attachments I'll mix and match, but predominantly that's pretty much it. Those are the nuts and bolts of things I've been sticking to. I'm sure it's gonna change. It will change in the future as I get more stuff in here to kind of play around with, but pretty much sticking to the basics on the movement patterns on that equipment that I have. Any questions, comments, feedback that you guys have? Trying to wrap this up. This went longer than I had planned, but I will see you guys on the next video.